So I wanted to test how viable it would be to farm simple gun parts by shooting and looting as many Wasps, Hornets, and Snitches as I possibly could, and I also wanted to test out my set of Renegade 4s because I saw my son 3-star the damaged Snitches trials a couple weeks back extremely quickly and way more effectively than the Batina 4 I was using. The irony here is that while I was trying to earn simple gun parts, I found out how costly the Renegade 4 is to actually use for an entire round, or through just even 2-3 stacks of medium ammo. Very ammo efficient weapon, but very weak on weapon durability. I did earn well over a stack of simple gun parts, but by the time I refined them into medium gun parts, I had exactly enough to repair the loss in durability with nothing left over. So it was a break-even experiment. But I did get a few takeaways here. Make sure to check the timestamps, and for the purpose of this video being episode 2 in my raw materials series, where I discuss a handful of the 30 basic materials that you can use to craft literally everything in the game, I decided to use this footage because I did glean quite a bit of information about how you can farm electrical components and inadvertently save on plastic and rubber parts, which are raw materials. As you may know, electrical components, while they're critical crafting materials, they're not actually raw materials because you can craft electrical components with plastic and rubber, right? So this is a way that you can intentionally farm plastic and rubber, or just farm the electrical components, because you're most likely going to be turning them into electrical components anyways. Now, it just so happens that this week Trials has a challenge to damage flying ARC enemies, which can include Rocketeers, but it also obviously includes Wasps, Hornets, and Snitches, spotters too for Bombardiers, but yeah, I recorded this video before the trials came out, so this gameplay is from last week, and today is the last day of trials before reset tomorrow. So if you still have to shoot flying arc, you can do something similar to this gameplay here. Just try and set up in a decent position. You can see I brought some seeker grenades with me just as a backup. I hardly even used them. I think I used them at the start here because I was swarmed with all kinds of flying arc right off spawn. But by the time I got into a good position, and I had the out of bounds section of the map to my back, so I couldn't be shot from any weird angles or from enemies that I couldn't see, and I was able to pretty much play cover the entire time and hardly burn through any heals or shields. Even if you're not super into trials, it's kind of nice to come out of a round successfully, and then boom, you got some uncommon, some rare, and some epic loot, and that can include some blueprints. So even if you're not engaged with trials, sometimes you can just get some rewards for doing them, so why not? Okay, so on to some of my takeaways here. Now, if you didn't know, typically flying arc are going to drop you electrical components, advanced electrical components if they're Rocketeer drivers, right? All the drivers that you get out of flying arc enemies, you can break them down into electrical components. And I didn't realize exactly how many electrical components I would end up walking away with after this raid, but it was like 3 to 4 stacks, which is pretty crazy. That's enough to refine into multiple advanced electrical components, or make yourself several stacks of jolt mines. If you got the batteries, of course, but there's lots of things you can do with electrical components. One of the most basic non-raw materials in the game. Now, what do you use to make electrical components? You use plastic and rubber. Those are your raw materials, but you don't really need to go out and farm raw materials. While it is essential to understand what they're used for, it's not like you're necessarily setting out every match, every raid, and you're hanging on to common materials. Most of the time you're just dumping them, right? Unless it's something that you really need. But yeah, so why would you farm for plastic and rubber parts when you can literally just farm for the main thing that you use that you make out of plastic and rubber, right? Of course, there are other things that you can make out of plastic and rubber, but by and large, plastic mostly goes into electrical components. If you make defibs, you can probably spend a lot of plastic there as well. But keep in mind, you don't have to keep these electrical components, right? If you end up earning 40 electrical components, you can technically break them down into plastic and repurpose those materials into other things, right? Now, one of the other very common raw materials here, one of the 30 basic raw materials in the game that you can use to craft everything, right? ARC Powercells. I didn't even really think of it while I was looting, but because the intention here with this raid was to just literally shoot down flying ARC and loot them clean to see what I get, I ended up walking away with like 5 ARC Powercells, 5 stacks, which is basically, that's enough to craft 25 shield rechargers, right? So, I mean, yeah, ARC Powercells aren't a very interesting raw material. You can get them from literally any ARC in the game, even the bigger ARC that drop advanced ARC Powercells. You can break those down into ARC Powercells. But, I mean, they're just used to craft shield recharges, and that's it. But, like I say, if you're going to be doing this, you may as well be grabbing those ARC Powercells. And what that means is that this farm can actually be perfect if you need a series of different things. Like if you just need simple gun parts, if you need electrical components, and if you need shield rechargers, then you can do this farm and you can get tons of all of those materials, right? With the exception of the simple gun parts, depending on what you're using to actually take down the ARC. But like I said, if you're using a higher tier weapon like this Renegade 4 here, you're going to have to reinvest a lot of gun parts into fixing it after you're done shooting it for the entire round. Okay, another takeaway here, something that I did do with intention from the start is I thought, okay, well, if I use a weapon with medium or light ammo, then to farm those flying ARC, then I could potentially refund my ammo as well, so then I'm also not wasting so much ammo, right? Because if you didn't know, when you kill Hornets, they give you medium ammo, and Wasps give you light ammo, right? I don't think snitches just give you a bunch of random stuff. Sometimes they'll give you like medium gun parts or sensors. I think that's how I ended up walking away with a couple of odd things here. Now, I'm not too sure how much medium ammo I actually spent here versus how much I got in return, but I would say it's probably around like a 30% return. So, where you think you might need, say, 3 stacks of medium ammo to take out all these enemies, if you're looting them, then you might only need 2 stacks because you're going to get an extra stack from them, right? So I actually did do a second run after thinking about that a little bit more, and I thought, well, how about I use a kettle to supplement my Renegade, and then that way I'm going to be getting light ammo and medium ammo. It's going to be super efficient. Maybe I can, switch over to the kettle every now and then and save a little bit of durability loss on my Renegade. That was my thinking, but the gameplay just ended up not being very good compared to this. Position was horrible. Took a lot of damage, but I think it is a good idea. Like, if you want to go in here for the purpose of just being efficient and taking down flying ARC, go in with a medium ammo weapon and a light ammo weapon. Why not? But I definitely wouldn't argue with you if you said, well, it's just way more efficient to just use an anvil, right? Especially with Hornets, you can shred their armor off. Yeah, at the end of the day, we're just talking about a little bit of ammo efficiency here. So it's not like, it's not like it's a hard recommendation that you only do that. I'm just saying you can be a bit efficient if you hate making ammo all the time, or if you just don't like burning through it unnecessarily. Now, here's a no-brainer tip for you. If you don't let the ARC get over to you, right, shoot them to lure them, let them get close to you, and then kill them. Don't just straight up kill them from far away just because you can, right? Like, if it's 3 shots to kill a wasp, I could have killed that wasp. Right, so I know it sounds obvious, but it's just because the second raid that I went into, my position was actually way worse than this. It wasn't the same spot. I was at like the ancient fort, and I just wasn't able to track the flying arc as well. And when I was killing them, they were just dropping like outside of the building, and it was just a huge pain in the ass to go and actually loot them, right? So even if you can somewhat lure the arc over to you, you still have to be in a decent enough position where you can get down, loot them, get back to safety efficiently. Right, and so furthermore, on the point of positioning, right, you can't count on friendly or hostile lobbies. Embark doesn't tell you what type of lobby you're in, ever. You got to judge it for yourself, and you know, it's always better to judge raiders on a case-by-case basis anyways, as opposed to just assuming the exact nature of the lobby. But if you don't have a position like me, you know, where you have elevation, line of visibility, limited angles of exposure, right? I'm only exposed to the front of the map because my back is out of bounds, right? That's intentional, right? So all your shots flying across the map, destroying all the flying arc, you're going to become an attractive target to any raider that is potentially hostile. So if you plan your position well, then the enemies could become dissuaded, right? And they can just leave you alone. Now, this is kind of an unrelated takeaway here as far as, you know, raw material and all that, but after getting all these drivers from all these different flying arc enemies, I thought, you know, Embark should really do something about integrating these different drivers into crafting, right? So that you can craft in a more interesting way, because currently they all just break down into electrical components, which is cool, but I think they should also be used as raw material to transform into interesting and enlightened loadout items, like a taser gun or a deployable turret or a radar scanner, or something that entices people to focus farm these various arc for a variety of reasons, right? Because the you know, like the Queen Core and the Matriarch Cores are used for crafting cool weapons. Why can't we use more of these cells and cores and stuff that drop from ARC to craft interesting things? So if anybody from Embark is listening, there's my takeaway. Give us some more raw materials to work with. Anyways, back to what's relevant in the game now, currently as it stands. And another takeaway here, right? So the amount of gun parts that you spend to earn gun parts in return is not an effective way to farm gun parts at all. But you can do this without using any weapon at all, right? People rarely loot these carcasses, right? And you can and you should make a habit of checking smoking carcasses, because then you're making a pure profit on simple gun parts, right? And instead of putting it all into repairing the same weapon, right, you can just make a second weapon. But like I said earlier too, you can also just try to be a little bit more efficient with your weapon of choice. If you can use something that's not going to lose as much durability, and something that maybe just requires simple gun parts to repair instead of multiple medium gun parts. You know, it's 4 simple gun parts to 1 medium gun part, so you can already tell, you know, how much of a difference it is, how costly it is to repair rare weapons and epic weapons versus more, you know, the more common and uncommon weapons. So yeah, I mean, obviously you could still farm simple gun parts out of Flying Arc in a more profitable way, is basically all I'm saying. Now, it would help if simple gun part refining in general was a little bit cheaper to do, or a little bit more interesting, right? Because currently, like I said, it takes 4 simple gun parts to make 1 medium gun part, or light or heavy, whatever. That's a lot of simple gun parts, and there's nothing else, right? Like everything else in the game that you craft has like 2-3 things that you got to use to craft it. Gun parts, nope, you just need more gun parts, right? It's extremely boring, and it's very expensive to upkeep weapons and make gun parts. It kind of like forces you into security breach, which is uninteresting. Like, I don't want to make a 37 perk investment just so that I can farm gun parts more efficiently. So yeah, I really do wish that Embark would do something there with the gun part refining. Like maybe instead of having it be 4 simple gun parts to make 1 rare gun part, have it be like 2 simple gun parts and, you know, like a spring or something, something that's just a little bit different and a little bit more interesting. And then that could kind of split up your farming too, so that way you're not just farming gun parts, but you're farming a couple different things. I think that would be a much more engaging crafting system, and you know, it'd probably make people more inclined to actually use their weapons. Because do you think most people are going to feel inclined to just use like a Renegade 4 if it means 100 durability loss in a match, right? And then you need like 15 simple gun parts to turn into medium gun parts just to repair it? You know what I'm saying? So anyways, that pretty much sums up everything I've got to say on farming simple gun parts, or maybe not farming simple gun parts, but definitely farming electrical components, ARC Powercells, a couple of random things from some snitches. But at the end of the day, you know, if you want simple gun parts, then you're just going to go into Stella Montis, into the lobby area. You can go in with literally nothing. Just run around, safe pocket a bunch of gun parts, and you'll end up coming out with a much more distinct profit than you would here. But I thought it'd be fun to run around on the beautiful Blue Gate with a cool weapon, shooting some stuff, because the last video I did was, you know, it was already Stella Montis with nothing, not the most exciting thing in the world. But yeah, so there you have it. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and a comment. Let me know what you think. And yeah, I will catch you in the next one. Take care.